Joining us now to talk about this and what it means, because it does mean something. It's not just gossip and grown men not acting like grown men. Mick Mulvaney, former White House chief of staff under President Trump, and Heidi Heitkamp, former North Dakota senator and a CNBC contributor. Mick, you worked in the White House. You know Peter Navarro. I do not. I've never met him. I will say this, so you don't have to. There are people I know that text me that you know that think that Navarro may have to go.
Look, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier. This is more than just about an squabble inside the White House. This is important, right? Why is that? Yeah, Peter is really tough to work with. There's no question about that. One of the things that makes him so difficult to work with is that he pretends to speak for the president when he does not. All right. Peter was notorious back in Trump 1.0 to walk out of a meeting when everybody would sort of assume we've got sort of a consensus about something, and he would go on TV and say the exact opposite. That has a tremendous demoralizing effect on the White House, and it does tend to mislead markets. For example, when people think that Peter Navarro is, when he says we all know in the White House, that's not the White House speaking. That's Peter Navarro. And what I think is important for people to realize is that
does Peter Navarro, who went to prison for the president, does he need to be fired?
I would have fired him a long time. I would have fired him when he got caught making up his academic sources for his papers with his Ron Vara imaginary friend. But, I mean, that was Donald Trump's call then. It's Donald Trump's call now. I think folks watching this show are caring more about what is the policy of the White House? What is the policy on tariffs? What does the future hold on this? And Peter Navarro is not a reliable source for information about that.
Senator,
yes.
If the question is, to whom should the business community be taking its cues, right? To whom should the market be taking its cues? Is it Bessent? Is it everybody? Yeah. Is it the president and only the president?
Well, all of this, there's an audience of one, and that's the president of the United States. Peter Navarro is saying what the president believes, which is tariffs are good. Elon Musk is not. And so you got to balance that. But I would listen to what the president says. As Mick said, a lot of people think that they speak for the president. They don't. And this president is going to stay the course. And all of the confusion last week and this week about whether he's negotiating or not negotiating, whether he's going to raise money with tariffs or whether this is just a ploy. All of that, it seems to me, is sending a lot of mixed signals, but those mixed signals are actually coming out of the president. And so from a political standpoint, Democrats are just sitting back and watching the chaos. It's not just this. It was the kind of fight between Bill Ackerman and Ludnick. And in fact, accusing Ludnick of basically doing all this so that he could become wealthy. This is not a good look for the White House. And it's not a good look for the markets because we need stability right now more than anything. But, it is in many ways amusing for Democrats to watch.
Mick Mulvaney, the rubber kind of meets the road when we turn our attention to the budget bill and everything that the GOP has to do to keep this very fragile majority together on the House side of things. Are they going to be able to keep it together and get that legislation passed?
Ordinarily I'd say no, but they've already surprised me a couple of times. The margins are just so narrow, Kelly, in the House that, now I think 4 people can sort of derail any piece of legislation. I will tell you, I was just over there with a couple of my former colleagues having lunch today, and they're very disappointed with what the Senate has sent over to the House in terms of the amount of money it saves and so forth. And you're hearing discussion now that there might be as many as 10 Republicans are on record as being against the Senate bill coming back to the House and so forth. It is going to be a challenge. There's no question about it. It's going to be a real test of whether or not they're interested in fiscal discipline or not. Everybody agrees on the taxes. That's not the issue. The issue is, are there going to be spending reductions paired to it? And that is something that could divide the Republicans.
And Senator Heitkamp, well, what's amazing, I guess, and I'm using the word amazing very loosely, is that you're coming off an election win by Donald Trump. I traveled the country. People were mad about inflation. They were mad about immigration. And let's be clear, it's not my opinion. There are books being written about it, that we had a president that was probably not what we were told he was, and people that may have propped him up in certain ways. Who knows? We had all that momentum. And then Donald Trump just comes in and wants to blow it all to smithereens, talking about tariffs. Nobody in America talked about tariffs. They talked about jobs, but they didn't talk about this. Now it's handing the Democrats a giant golden goose on a silver platter, and it feels like such a stupid, unforced error.
Well, sure, but the president did talk about tariffs. No one should be surprised by any of this. But what's not getting covered because of what's happening with the markets and tariffs is that there were over 2 million people who organically took to the streets to say we've had enough, hands off, the hands off movement. That's not going to dwindle. And we had a very conservative person in North Dakota who wrote a Facebook post basically saying, ignore this at your peril. It feels a lot like the Tea Party revolt. And so Donald Trump doesn't have a reverse, and that should worry a lot of people in the Republican Party.
But I think that goes back, and just quickly, Mick, before we go, I think that goes back to what Ed Yardeni, others in the market have said, which is they expect that either that the graceful pivot will come because either the president decides to back down, Congress forces him to back down, or the courts do.
I think there's going to be a bifurcated response, Kelly. I think there are going to be some tariffs that are there for a different reason. The tariffs on China are there for geopolitical reasons. The tariffs on the other countries are probably there for negotiations. So I think you're going to see a whole spectrum of responses. That yes, there will be negotiations, and Scott Bessent is right about that. On other ones, there will be no negotiations and so forth. So I don't think you sort of say you can't paint with a broad brush and say all the tariffs are either going away or they're all staying forever. There's going to be some nuance here.
Right, but do you think that pressure, and Senator, go ahead, do you think that pressure is going to come? Go ahead.
This is going to take a while, because had the market collapsed again this week, I think you would have seen more pressure building up. Stability in the market really has, I think, slowed tariff reform down.
Yeah, guys, we'll let you go. Markets soared this morning in part because there were reports that Scott Bessent, who's got the respect of Wall Street, was headed down. He was going to take over negotiations. And it just seems like this fight between the president and Navarro and Bessent is not ending well for investors. But we'll save that for another conversation. Heidi Heitkamp, former North Dakota Senator, Mick Mulvaney, former White House Chief of Staff. Great discussion.